What is up, everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night Royval versus Taira. It's a pretty good fight night. I feel like almost every fight has at least a recognizable name on it. But going straight into it, timestamps are in the description if you just want to hear one fight. First up, we have the people's main event, Chris Barnett versus Junior Tafa. Now, unfortunately, I made this whole thing, and Chris Barnett pulls out of this fight. Allegedly, his home got destroyed in the hurricane, allegedly, or something like that. And now Junior Tafa is staying in, and he's fighting. His name, I think, is Sean. He's I think he's a kickboxer. I think he's 4-0. And I'm going to go with Junior Tafa. And the reason is Junior Tafa is actually really good on the feet. It's just he has no grappling. And I feel like that's the way to beat Junior Tafa, is how Walter Walker did. Submitted him in the first round. Just out-grapple him. It's very easy. But I don't see a striker going in there trying to out-grapple him. So I think it's going to be a stand-up fight, and I think Junior Tafa is going to win. Now, the main event, the real main event, Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. Now, this is a good fight. Brandon Royval, I do think, has a chance because he's a survivor, He's very good at staying in the fight. Outside of the first Pantoja fight where he got submitted, outside of that, he doesn't really get finished a lot. And I feel like Taira is a little bit better on the ground than Pantoja. I think he has better back takes. I think he may have better control. And on the feet, he is good. He's long. He has a longer reach. I think it's like 2 inches more. He's also a lot bigger than Pantoja. However, he doesn't have a granite chin. He got dropped by, I believe, Edgar Charas. Dropped him. Brandon Royval has dropped a lot of people. He's dropped Kai Kara France. He's hurt a lot of people. However, it is a gift and a curse because he is good on the ground, Brandon Royval. He has submissions. He submitted Kai Kara France early in both of their careers. He survived a lot on the ground. I forgot if he submitted Tim Elliott, but I'm pretty sure he beat Tim Elliott, but that's because he just gassed himself out. But the problem is he kind of welcomes the ground game, not as much as he used to, but a lot of the times he jumps for guillotines, and he does sometimes have them. I believe that's what he finished Kai Kara France with. But I could see him in the clinch, being okay with it going to the ground, and then Taira is good enough on the ground to not get submitted, and he does have a real shot of submitting Brandon Royval. On the feet, though, I think Brandon Royval doesn't fight as crazy as he used to. When he first got into the UFC, he just threw everything because he can keep the pace. We don't know if Taira could keep, that 5-round pace. Probably not, if I had to guess. But the real question is, can Taira finish and submit Royval? I think he can. I think Royval also, he's there to be countered because a lot of the times he throws lazy leg kicks and he ends up getting, punished for it. However, Taira, I feel like, gets dropped by a leg kick in every one of his fights. He is good on the feet, though, and he does have power. Both of these guys have power. I could actually see Royval, I could see him dropping Taira, but I don't think that when he goes to the ground, if he does drop him, that he's going to finish Taira. So I think Taira will end up getting a later submission. I see 3rd or 4th round. And I think Royval is going to be winning the fight up until that point. But yeah, that's my prediction for the fight. Next fight, Brad Tavares versus the Iron Turtle. I think the Iron Turtle is going to win. And the reason is because Tavares, his style isn't really the style to beat Park. Park has a really good leg kick. He's also, for this fight, I feel like he's just going to leg kick and jab the entire fight. But Tavares, he doesn't really check leg kicks. And how do you beat that style? Well, he's not going to wrestle. He's probably not going to grapple. And he's not going to out-grapple Park. The other way to beat it is have unreal power. Does he have unreal power? I don't think so. And the other way you could beat it is he just has a ton of output. But he's not really an output guy. He kind of just goes at the same pace. He looked really good in his fight with Gregory Rodriguez. But he didn't have as much power, and he didn't have the same amount of output. I feel like for this fight, Park is good enough to keep it close on the feet, and he also, in my opinion, has the grappling edge. So I think he will get either a late finish or like a 29-28 decision. Yeah, that's my prediction for that fight. Grant Dawson versus Rafa Garcia. Grant Dawson is going to do what he does. It's tough to trust him, though, because he did get KO'd. He got knocked out by a jab from Bobby Green, who does not really have knockout power. And that alone is crazy when you really think about it. Because in my opinion, I'm not a fighter, but I honestly think if you throw me in there, you replace me with Grant Dawson, I don't think I get brutally knocked out by a jab off of Bobby Green. I think maybe it breaks my nose, probably won't feel good, but no way I'm getting knocked out by a jab. So he is one of the chinniest fighters in the UFC just for that. But he is a very good grappler. He probably, if he didn't have a Matt Schnell chin, he probably would have beat Bobby Green. But yeah, I'm picking him to win. But yeah, decision, boring. Next up, again, I'm not going to do my research for WMMA fights because I always get them wrong when I do research them. I went 3 for 4 on my last card for WMMA fights without doing any research. Should have been 4 for 4 if they would have gave Pennington the fight. But I'm going with Cory McKenna, decision, no clue why. Next up, Daniel Rodriguez, Alex Morono. So Morono, his last fight was against Niko Price, who's also on this card. And he looked awful in that fight. His main issue is his cardio didn't really look good. He has no ability to hurt anyone. He's not dangerous, and he's super chinny. Rodriguez is good. His last fight, he obviously lost to Gastelum, but it was very unfair. It was almost like what they did to Diego Lopez, going up different weight classes on short notice. He was at a massive disadvantage. He had to cut weight, and Gastelum didn't. And he still held his own. And Gastelum is good on the feet, and he held his own in that fight. Morono, he doesn't have to fear the power either. I'm going with Rodriguez. I think that this is a level of an opponent that he could beat. I get Rodriguez is on a 3-fight loss streak. Should be 4 fights because he did not beat Li Jie Lang or whatever. He absolutely lost that fight. And his only wins are like against, I think, like Mike Perry. So his resume is awful. But I think that this is a level of opponent that he will be able to beat. So I'm going with him, probably decision 29-28. Oh, shit. Okay, then we have Abdul, Razak, Alhassan. I know I butchered that, but he's fighting Josh Fremd. I'm going with Abdul. I think that he just has more power. Fremd, he's, I don't know. I mean, Abdul, I feel like he should have won his last fight, against, I get it's against Cody Brundage, but he was winning that fight. It was very short. Josh Fremd is a can crusher. I think he beat, was it Jamie Pickett or Trayshawn Gore? He lost to one of those guys and he beat the other one, but losing to either of those guys is crazy. And then on top of that, you beat Cedric Dumas, I think, who's also not good. He's just a can crusher, and he loses to cans. I'm going with Abdul, first round knockout. Here we got Bang Bang versus Jared Gooden. I'm going to go with the underdog in this one. I'm going with Jared. I think that his main problem is, I guess, his grappling defense, because I watched his fight against, I think it's like Harris. I forgot who it was against. And he just was getting out-grappled, but he looked really good on the feet in the first round. He has power, and I think he's going to be able to find the shot and get a first-round knockout. That's kind of my underdog pick of the week. And then the next fight, CJ Vergara versus Ramazan Temirov. I'm going with Temirov. Vergara has had a problem with grappling in the past, so this is interesting how he's going up against like a knockout artist. But I think that Ramazan, I just think that he's better on the feet, and I don't think that Vergara is going to be the grappler in this fight. So I think that Ramazan, that's how you say his name, I think that he's going to continue the streak. And I think he's going to get a first-round knockout. But yeah, that's my prediction. Moving on. Jonathan Pearce versus Pat Sabatini. I'm going with Jonathan Pearce. I'm a little bit worried that Sabatini is going to be able to latch up a submission. I think that that's his path to victory. especially when they're dry, maybe in the first, second round. But Pearce is the better fighter. His last fight, I think, was against David something. I forgot how to say his last name. And in that fight, he was getting good takedowns. But David, his hips are so insane because he just was able, he was in I forgot what he was in, but he was able, it was like a body triangle, I think. I'm trying to remember the position, and he just was able to just turn his hips. Insanely athletic. And Pearce, he looked good on the feet. He looked good in that fight. Sabatini, we don't really know. I think his last fight may have been the Diego Lopez fight, where he got knocked out in the first round. No shame, everyone gets knocked out versus Diego Lopez. But I think that Pearce is the better fighter. Again, the thing I'm worried about is the submissions, but I think that he'll be fine and he'll win the fight by decision. Next up, we got Themba Gorimbo versus Niko Price. I'm going with Themba. Niko Price, yes, he did beat Alex Morono, but he didn't look impressive in that fight. It just kind of looked like that there was a power difference. Themba also has power. His last fight was pretty boring. But I think that this fight, he's going to come to fight. I don't think he wants to put on another snooze fest. I think that he's going to find the knockout first round. And Niko Price, he also is chinny. I mean, he got knocked out by Robbie Lawler in his retirement fight. That's like one of the only retirement fights to ever be a success against Niko Price. But yeah, I think Themba is going to win this one. Next up, we have Cody Haddon versus Dan Argueta. I'm going to go with Cody Haddon. This one worries me a little bit. I think it's his UFC debut. Dan, big-time wrestler. He's going to go for the takedown. And I think that Haddon is going to have the ability to latch up a submission off of the takedown. Dan, I think in his last fight, got submitted off of a very similar way. I think he got submitted, it was like in the last 5 seconds or something like that. I'm pretty sure. But I think Cody's going to win his UFC debut. I think his fight on the Contender Series, he also won via submission. But yeah, I'm going to go with him. Opening up the card, last fight, Lucas Rocha versus Clayton Carpenter. Striker versus grappler. I think Rocha is powerful. He has, I could see maybe a flying knee landing for him, because I think he won his last fight. Was it, I think, a flying knee? Something like that. I don't think that he's going to be able to find it in this fight. I think Clayton is going to know it's coming. I think that he's going to stay safe, and I think he's going to win a decision, probably 29-28, maybe 30-27. Not too confident on the first two fights of the card. But yeah, my last card, I went 9 for 12, so hopefully we continue the streak. But yeah, those are my picks. Let me know what you think.